That's a short.
Nailed.
Just like that.
It's like flossing.
You've combined a young jock dance with flossing, and I'm just super impressed.
What's this one?
It's going down.
Ellen Timber. That's Kesha.
No.
That's
Baby
Kesha.
girl, no.
Baby girl. Baby girl, no.
I'm afraid that we're going to turn on at any minute, so I'm not going to sing it.
If somebody says baby girl, no, and hears that, that's just like they expect nothing less. Yeah. Sadie, are we live yet? Oh. I was expecting like a thumbs up. So we've been going since Let's Do It. Welcome to Medicare Cafe Free Chat. We're on just a little bit early. You guys might be like, oh my gosh, where is that fantastic room that you're normally in? We are currently in Blue Springs. We are doing our AEP Roadshows, aka 2025 AEP Disruption Boot Camp. And so you got me and Clayton here today talking about, who was this that I was doing?
Young Jock.
See, I heard it's going down, and I'm thinking Kesha.
Yeah, no,
Ellen Timber.
Very different songs.
Okay, well now I know. So you guys are going to be hearing just a little snippet of what we actually just finished covering, 2025 updates, like the IRA, the smoothing provision, the new DSNP, the changes to Medicare Advantage, changes to Part D. So like that took about the first hour and 15 minutes of today. So the rest of this presentation today, because we're out of here at 11:30, so the next hour and a half, it's not a lot of time. We're going to be talking about what to do with that information, how to make sure that you are able to be really successful with this AEP. So we're going to show you guys about like 10 minutes of that. But we are doing this 2 more times. We're doing it on Thursday in St. Charles, 8:30 at St. Charles and St. Charles Convention Center. And the following Wednesday, which is the July 31st, in Columbia, Missouri, at our home office. So if you guys want more, you know where to find us. Finger guns. All right. All right. We'll go ahead. I got 2 microphones. You got 2 microphones. Turn this on. All right. All right. Oop. I'm going to pull my hair back because I'm sure my hair is rubbing all over that. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started on the second half, or the second. We have 3/4 of it left. That was the 4th of it. So we're going to go ahead and get started on the rest of today. So this morning we focus on what are the changes, what is happening, what can we expect going into 2025. The rest of the day is talking about how to help you guys handle the disruption. So I found this quote. I love this quote by Clayton Christensen, which says, the reason it is so difficult for existing firms to capitalize on disruption and innovation is their processes and their business models that make them good at existing business. So what we mean is that this AEP is going to be more different than any AEP we've experienced in the past, which means the way that we work this AEP will have to look different than any AEP we've had in the past. If you are running your agency the same way in October 1st that you are doing it today, you are going to be experiencing up to 90% loss. Up to 80% loss with an 80% shopping rate. That's what we're trying to avoid. What we're trying to do is help you grow by 80% this year. One little housekeeping item, you might be wondering, she is really full of herself. She is now wearing 2 microphones. Who's here familiar with Medicare Cafe? We are currently filming a live Medicare Cafe, so everybody say hello to our viewers. So we're going to be doing that for about 10 minutes just to give them, because it's Tuesday at 10, and we don't want to disappoint people who are watching us Tuesday at 10. So we are doing a live presentation, myself and Clayton. So Sadie, if there are any live comments that people want to ask questions, you can let us know. And again, if you guys want to see more of this, come to our next live sessions. Okay, this is what we're covering. We're talking about building your war plan. We're going to focus on communication. How are you communicating with clients? How are you communicating with beneficiaries? We're talking about how to stand out this year, how to be loud using events. We're going to talk about your appointment structure. Again, this year, time is the enemy. So how do we, and when I say appointment structure, we're going to be talking about efficiencies. How are you more efficient with your time? And then last but not least, we're going to be talking about technology and resources because none of this matters if you don't have the support of your partners and if you don't have the resources to do it. All right? You guys ready? Oh my gosh, you guys had coffee. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, let's get into the first one, the communication game plan. Current clients versus gaining new clients. Let's go ahead and start talking about what you're going to do with your current clients. The goal when you're working with your clients is going to be build confidence. Your clients are going to be getting phone calls. They're going to be seeing advertisements. They're going to be learning about this IRA, learning about the max amount of pocket. They're going to be taking in so much information, exactly what you said earlier, taking on so much information. Deloitte Research did a study a few years ago, but they found out that 58% of the buying process is done online, which means that by the time a person comes to you, they've done 58% of their own shopping. So a lot of agents, what we're talking about working with this, they say, my clients know, they call me. If they have questions, they know. I don't have to send out anything. They know to reach out to me. If that's worked in the past, it is very likely it's not going to work out for them. So number one, there's too much noise for them to stand out. Two, you're also going to have to work on efficiency this year. You're going to have to make sure that, I think one thing that we talked about is that, will you be able to afford walk-ins this year? If you're somebody that I don't set appointments, will you be able to have enough budgeted time in your day to afford people walking in without an appointment? And the third thing you're wanting to make sure that you're really communicating with your clients is setting the expectation, because their appointment process may look different this year. You may not have time for the idle chit chat. If we're talking about cutting appointment times, if you're running hour-long appointments, we're talking about taking those down to 15 to 30 minutes. Want to make sure that your clients are expecting that so they're not offended that you don't have time to talk about their 9th vacation to Florida that year or what color their loofah was.
Which is something that I know is a concern with some of these frustrations with having to explain a lot of these different processes now, of just setting that expectation with your clients of exactly what this appointment's going to look like, because you're going to have to educate them. You're going to be wanting to switch their plans more than likely, or at least shop their plans, right? But we're going to have a much smaller amount of time to do that because there's more focus. So there's going to be a lot of ways that we'll talk about that you'll be able to kind of get ahead of that. But just setting that expectation with your clients is going to be important regardless of how you're doing it.
Now, one thing I want to mention on compliance, reminder that if they are a current client of yours, doesn't matter if it's a med sup, a life insurance policy, or anything like that, if they are a current client of yours, you do not need a permission to contact to reach out to them. You're just doing normal and standard business practices. So just keep that in mind. When we get into talking about prospects, very different. Okay, so we're talking about current clients right now. All right. This is what we're going to advise that you communicate and when to communicate with them. So, number one, collecting and updating client data. We'll talk about this a lot in the shortening the appointment process. However, a huge part of an appointment process is the fact finding. And fact finding is crucial. I don't care if they've been your client for a day or if they've been your client for 10 years. You have to always fact find. However, collecting things like the scope of appointment, drug list, provider updates, LIS status, health concerns, all of that can be done prior to an appointment and save you a ton of time. I know I don't want to steal your guys' thunder anymore. We're going to show you how to do that in an electronic way that's actually super easy for your clients.
Yeah, that's something that Ben and I will touch on a little bit later, but we're going to encourage clients to use Plan Enroll. There's different features on there that's going to make it a lot easier for your tech-savvy clients to go out there and put their own medications in. But you'll still have your people that want to use paper, that still will hand you a drug list, or maybe even bring that gallon Ziploc baggie of all their medications and say, this is what I've got, what do I need?
Yeah.
And that's going to be something that we're dealing with. But again, we're just kind of going through the different things that are going to be encouraged to collect prior to that appointment.
Yeah, you for sure will have clients who are late 70s, early 80s that they're not going to want to get on the computer to enter in their drug list, and I'm not going to ask them to. For you to train them to do that is going to take way longer than just collecting it manually. I understand that. But that's what we're talking about when it comes to a place when there's so much disruption. Control what you can control and do it early. So collecting this information from those individuals who are willing will save you a ton of time.
That was the other point I was going to add on that, is just to make sure that you're starting to do that now. Some of these features won't come out until later, but we want to make sure that you're starting this process. If it's, different forms of communication, but start now.
Yeah. Medicare Center is going to have a way for you to actually mass send out these requests to all of your clients. So who here is currently using Medicare Center? You guys are going to have a great AEP because it's launching next week. They'll actually have a button called Sync, and you can mass send out a link to your clients, encouraging them to update their drugs, update their providers. So you don't have to do it on a one-off basis. Another way that you can do it, yes. They have a text option. Yes, sir. They'll have a text option as well. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Again, I know we're getting into this a little bit later, but you can do it to all of them. You'll be able to go by groups of like people who've been contacted, people with a current plan. You'll even be able to do things. What's really cool about Medicare Center is that it's going to use AI integrated technology to basically make it to where like, hey, who are my clients based on their drug list, based on the providers, and based on the plan changes? Who are the people I need to see first? Who are the people who are going to see massive disruption compared to others? Medicare Center will help you rank your most at risk versus like, if you don't get to them, they're going to be okay. It's pretty cool. The next thing is education on the Inflation Reduction Act. That's something that we can start doing now. So a lot of questions is like, well, Olivia, I know like I can't start talking about plan benefits and plan features until 10/1. That is correct. You cannot do that. What you can do though, the Inflation Reduction Act has been published in its entirety since 2021. And so this information is not new information. You can talk about a $2,000 MOOP. You can talk about what it's going to mean. The only thing I'm recommending that we kind of shy away from is the Medicare Advantage Part D dollar-specific implications. So I wouldn't recommend today saying, oh, premiums are jump up to, Rachel mentioned earlier, over $120. That's a specific dollar amount. And so I wouldn't say that until after 10/1. But you can say, due to the Inflation Reduction Act with the $2,000 MOOP, we're expecting to see major disruption. And again, we have a presentation. Integrity has come out with an IRA educational presentation that you guys will be able to give. Will also be an incredible tool for pharmacies, doing like a lunch and learn for your pharmacies. That's going to be a great way to build that relationship. Consumers, education. We'll talk about the types of events you can do this with here in a little bit.
Yeah, and that's all of that education part on the IRA is just going to reinforce that you all are the experts. The exports. You're exporting drug plans and Medicare Advantage plans. But you guys are here today to learn those kind of changes, right? We went over all of that. That's the kind of information that your clients are going to want to need to know. They need you guys to hear this. So from you guys to be the experts is truly going to be something that's going to be game changing, and why everybody's fighting for you guys to stay involved in this process.
The next thing that you need to be talking to your current clients about is going to be appointment setting. Like I said, you will still have walk-ins. I understand that. I want you guys to be able to say yes to a walk-in. Because if 90% or 80% of your book of business is shopping, it is likely that you will have walk-ins come in that you can't help. So if we can set your appointment time or even have set like walk-in hours, depending on how big a book of your business is, that's a Peter Piker pick a pepper, how big your business is. You might even have like, hey, I have walk-in hours between X and X amount. But for as much as you possibly can, please make sure you are setting the appointment. Here's something that's really interesting. I mentioned this, up to 90% of beneficiaries will see a decrease in their ANOG. That does not necessarily mean that every single beneficiary is going to need a face-to-face appointment, because all benefits are expected to see that type of decrease. It is very possible that the plan that they're on is the plan that they're going to continue to be on. They just need to have the confidence to know that like you have to have that communication with them. And again, as we know, we also don't know what the real benefits are going to look like come until close to 10/1. So for us to be able to say like, oh, you need an appointment, but you don't. Like usually by now we can say, oh, my United Healthcare book, they can probably stay put. Unless they've had changes, they can probably stay put. Everybody else I need to see this year. We won't know that until closer to October 1st. So making sure that now you're communicating with your clients and having them have the option to set appointments now so that you are able to say yes to walk-ins come later on. So who should get your first year appointments, right? Knowing that I don't know that everybody will need one. Who should you get your first year appointments? Number one, centers of influence. Your center, by that I mean, who are your referrals? Who are the people who are sending you more people? Take care of them. The two, your high utilization. Are you able to go through your CRM and see like who are people who are taking more than 4 or 5 medications? Because of the formulary changes, they're going to need an appointment. Your Medicare supplement clients who are on the fence in years past. This might be, and with the drug prices and the premiums going up, this might be the year they're willing to make that switch. Also keep in mind that a lot of these Medicare Advantage companies are actually looking at doing what they call MedSup lookalike plans, to where they're really high premium, like $200 premiums, but you get all the bells and whistles, you get that max out of pocket. So there's actually becoming kind of like a third option to your Medicare supplement clients as well. And I've kind of already hit on the AI and stuff, but go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like the AI is going to help us out a lot with on Medicare Center to be able to tell you who your clients are most likely to be shopping. But there's kind of mental notes, right? Like you've talked to clients that you're like, all right, I remember last year we had trouble finding a formulary that worked for this person, or I know they had a ton of different expensive drugs. So those are the ones that you can start going in, start tagging in your CRM, even make note of that. Like, hey, these are the people that I know, regardless of the plan's going to change, I need to look at their plan more intensely heading into AEP. And when we're talking about who needs a for sure appointment, you can go ahead and start scheduling all of your folks, right? Get them on your calendar. And then come 10/1, when we get that carrier data, we can say, okay, now I can know this book is probably okay. Like she was saying, like this UHC book's fine unless they had any major changes. And you could reach out to those people and let them know, like, hey, unless you've had some major changes, we're not really needing to switch your plans here. And they'll open up more appointment slots back for you. But to get them on the books, because I'm not great at math, but I remember that there was a number that is how many you're able to see.
If you are working 5 days a week, like 8 to 8, and you're doing 1 hour appointments, you are able to fit in less than 280 appointments. So if you have more than 280 clients and you're doing 1 hour long appointments, you're not going to be able to see all of your clients, and you're not going to grow this AEP. We looked at it even on, we ran the numbers to where if you worked 6 days a week, worked during Thanksgiving, and did 45-minute appointments, you were only able to see about 500. So again, time is the enemy this year.
Right. And we'll talk about different ways to try to see more people at once, because those numbers just aren't feasible for some of your books of business. But just to be able to go and say, I know I'm going to schedule out all of these people already, and then be able to backpedal and be like, you don't really need an appointment unless anything's changed. We'll open up more slots. And that's when you can start like advertising that, hey, I've got some appointments available on next week, Thursday. Post stuff on your social media, everything like that, to make sure people know that you still are available, but to start booking out appointments, start collecting that data that we talked about now.
I'd also recommend to really become regimented in your appointments. I know a lot of people, they'll look at their calendar and they'll say, oh, on Wednesday, I have a pretty free afternoon. What time works for you Wednesday afternoon? I strongly recommend this AEP looking at your office or looking at your agency the same way that a doctor does. Do not, make sure that you have appointment slots and have those appointment slots spoken for or not spoken for. And not, and making sure that are those slots for going to be a 30-minute, an hour-long appointment, a 15-minute appointment? That's an option, but just making sure that they're blocked like that will help you with your planning and honestly will help you with your structure come AEP. So if you're not using a link, we have people, I know, Ben, you use it, Clayton, you use it, but Calendarly, it works with Microsoft, works with a lot of different programs. There's also Zapier. Zapier is another program. It's like an app that you can add to your other apps. But what they can do is basically turn your calendar into like an appointment setting technology, to where you can post your calendar on your socials, post it on your website, and people can go and say, like, am I new to Medicare? Okay, that probably needs to be an hour. Am I a returning client? Is this an AEP appointment? Okay, that probably needs to be 30 minutes. So allowing somebody else the capability to do that will free up your time and help you plan your days accordingly. So making sure you're budgeting that up well in advance. The next thing is going to be setting the expectations for AEP appointments. Again, this is going to be really crucial come this year, especially if is this anybody's first AEP? I'm going to tell you this, the best time, and I'm going to say this to you, I'm going to pick on you, and anybody else who's interested in bringing on downline agents, if there was ever a time to get into the industry, this is the year for it. 100%. If you are interested in hiring staff, bringing on downlines, or joining the industry, this is the best year to do it. But that's not the point I'm making right now. What I want to talk about is setting the expectation. You will likely, when we were first, back in April, we're telling agents, guys, we got to do this different, and it was just met with a lot of like, one, what the heck is going on? Two, of well, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. Panic. And the biggest pushback agents gave us were like, my clients are going to feel so underserved. I meet with them, some of them for 2 hours. I meet with my clients. That's not going to work if you want to be if you want a piece of that 80% growth. You cannot do that. So setting the expectations this year, and here's the tricky part, setting the expectation that appointment time may look different, setting the expectation that appointment structure may look different, like, hey, I don't have time to talk about your cat's 12th life that it's, survived this week. Understanding that. But also one thing that I've seen a lot of agents kind of fall into is that they make themselves, because you're setting expectations, I'm telling you how busy you're going to be. Make sure that you're not running off referrals, because I see this a lot. You're so busy. I went ahead and just enrolled myself, or you're really, really busy. My friend's sister's dog walker's cousin needed help, but like, I know you got all on your plate. So the way that I word it is like, hey, this year, sorry, Medicare Cafe Land. That was probably very loud. The way that I would word it would be something along the lines of like, again, Lisa, thank you so much for meeting with me today. I appreciate it. Now, I do understand. I appreciate my patience. I know this appointment looks different this year. I'm doing whatever I can to help as many people as I possibly can, because this has been a crazy year. Now, if you have any sisters, cousins, or parents that still need my help, I'm making room for them. You're my priority as my client. I'm going to help who you need help. But that's why this appointment has to look different. It's because I'm trying to help all of your friends as I can. So that's how you're asking for referrals, but also setting expectation of like, hey, we're at a heightened awareness. Like, we are at another level. I don't have time for the chit chat this year. But you have to set that expectation, because if you don't tell your clients that and they show up and they have their stories lined out, that might be the only thing they're doing that day is that appointment with you. And that's their time to catch up. So if you don't set the expectation that this is going to look a little bit different, then they can be really disappointed. Even though they got all the things that they wanted, the experience is worsened. And so they have a bad time. They don't feel like they had a good experience with you.
And I think that's an area where, again, we'll talk about different events, but you're able to say, like, hey, I'm going to have other opportunities. I want to still catch up with you. I do still want to know about your day-to-day, but I have all of these clients, like Olivia was saying, I have all these clients I have to take care of, and I still want to be able to take care of more people that you're recommending for me. So to be able to kind of separate the two things is going to be a little bit of an uncomfortable process, because I'm sure a lot of you had spent a lot of time with the clients, but to be able to make sure you're serving everyone's going to be the most important thing. And we'll have time for chit chat. There'll be other venues or other opportunities for that. Q1 follow-ups, whatever the case might be.
Yeah, what a lot of our agents are considering doing is hosting client appreciation events right before AEP. So they're using those events. We'll talk about events here in a little bit, but they're using those events to collect data, get the referrals, and they're using that event to basically set the expectation for AEP and get that chit chat out of the way. Because a lot of your clients, the only time you really talk to them or get to build that relationship is during the appointment. And I'm telling you, cut that crap out. You got to get out of there. And that's hard. So be able to do something, an alternative to that, get and build that relationship ahead of time, or do like a Christmas gathering afterwards, so that like you can kind of come together for a reason like Christmas or whatever holiday. And just, again, knowing that the relationship building isn't going to happen during that appointment. It just can't. And then, let's see, inviting and conducting ANOCs. And who here has done any type of ANOC event? We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Awesome. Who here has done a kiosk? Awesome. Okay. If you're interested, this is going to be a good year to do them. We'll talk about it here in a little bit as well. But we can start advertising where you're going to be and when you're going to be there. This one is likely going to start happening. I wouldn't start advertising them now, The advertising your locations and where you're going to be and any events, if you're doing ANOC events, that starts at the beginning of September. We'll talk about ANOC events here in a little bit. If you're doing kiosks and you're going to start being at pharmacies or other locations, that starts at the beginning of October. So make sure in your marketing plan that you're talking about when do I start advertising these dates, times, locations. Social media will be crucial for that. Again, Facebook, LinkedIn is great. LinkedIn actually has surpassed Facebook in search engine optimization, but LinkedIn doesn't allow you to give that personal touch as business to business. Using Facebook is, again, the number one growing demographic for Facebook are people over the age of 55. So again, a lot of our demographic, and then just knowing that it's free unless you invest money into it, which is a good option too.
Yeah, that'll be like the best place to, once you've got your schedule locked down of where you're going to be, if it's an event, it's a kiosk, put it in your social media, blast that out there, let the people know where you're going to be. That's the important part of communicating out to your clients is you're going to be somewhere investing your time. Like, think about how we got all of y'all here, right? We invested time into talking to you guys about the importance of us being here and us learning today. Take some of that, go out to your clients, try to bring people into these events. And the only way they're going to be at those is if they know where you're at.
Okay. And the last thing on here is continue your normal marketing communications. This one's actually an unsung hero. Every single year during AEP, it's so easy to do. You turn off all of your energy and point everything to surviving AEP. You point all of your marketing efforts towards it. You point your staff towards it. You point everything towards it. People are still retiring in the last quarter of the year. People are still turning 65 the last quarter of the year. People want their Medicare supplements reviewed fourth quarter of the year. So even though we're asking you to do all these things in addition, make sure that you're still putting your marketing dollars and your marketing effort towards other things that are non-AEP related. Any questions on that? I'm going to hit med subs really quick. This wasn't part of the programming, but I told you I would, and I didn't forget. I just remembered. Medicare supplements, with the industry changing, is also seeing a massive disruption. As you guys have seen, has anybody been paying attention to what their med sub rate increases have been doing lately? Yeah. Right now, carriers are anticipating that the average rate increase for a Medicare supplement from now for the next few years are going to be in double digits, but between 15 and 20%, particularly on that Plan G. The biggest reason for that, again, these are not Medicare supplement companies trying to be greedy. They're not trying to make money. They're trying to survive. The biggest reason for that is because loss ratios of Medicare supplements have gotten out of control. Primarily, two biggest reasons for where those losses are coming from. Number one are major surgeries like joint replacements. And number two are late diagnosis of cancer. During COVID and following after that, many people put off going to the doctors unless they absolutely needed to. Because of that, people were still getting cancer. They just weren't catching it because they weren't doing their annual visits. And so late diagnosis of cancers and joint replacements. Now, who are getting these joint replaced? Your T65ers, your people who are new to Medicare. The reason for that is because the ACA has made the group market incredibly expensive. And so for them to be able to get these major procedures, they are waiting until they retire and get on Medicare before they get those procedures done. So Medicare supplements, you're paying based on age and you're paying based on sometimes health conditions. Well, when you're 65 years old and new to Medicare, you're not underwriting because you're new to Part B usually, and you're paying the lowest premium out of anybody. So the lowest premium is in turning out to be the sickest and the highest cost business to keep. That's why you're seeing these massive rate increases. It's not because the MedSup market is going anywhere. It's because they're trying to survive in this market. So the outcome, what does that mean for you and your clients? Medicare supplement, for my opinion, if you guys kind of follow me from the early 2010s to 2015, we kind of saw that Medicare supplements were like, if you were wealthy, you went Medicare supplement. If you were less wealthy, you went Medicare Advantage plan, right? 2016 to a couple years ago, it didn't matter. There was a lot of people who were very wealthy that wanted the Medicare Advantage plans because they were able to finance or comfortable with financing their own healthcare. People on a Medicare supplement who are low income are like, hey, I want the structure. I can budget, $150 a month. I can't budget a $6,900 move. So we kind of saw it didn't really, the financial situation didn't matter. What we're going to see from this point going forward is that Medicare supplements are going to need to be sold as a luxury product. It is very much going to be more of a luxury, more financially well product because you're paying for Part B premium, you're paying for a high med sup, and you're paying for a high Part D. So when your med sup clients, not saying it's going away, it's just going to mean that we're going to have to sell insurance. We're going to have to sell why do people want a Medicare supplement? Ease of mind, lack of low risk, and ability to travel. And so if they can afford it, it's a great option. I think we're good for Medicare Cafe. It's about 25 minutes in. Goodbye, Medicare Cafe friends. Oh gosh. I don't think I was on that entire time.